Welcome back to It's Time Picks. We've got UFC Fight Night San Antonio, Vera versus Sandhagen on deck. Last week we both went 9-5-1. It was better than the week before because that was absolutely terrible. Last week there were still some big surprise fights. I think the majority of everybody was on Usman, and he lost. Just wasn't prepared. Another big one that a lot of people were on was O'Neal. Maya came out, looked the best she probably ever has in the octagon. So those are two big losses. The other ones were whatever, but I'm looking forward to this card. It should be a good one. We did just have a fight drop. Vidal and Cowan dropped due to a medical issue to Vidal, so we got that going on. Joey, what do you think about the card?
By name, not many people might not recognize fully who these fighters are, but to me, these are a bunch of fighters who could definitely build their resumes up for these fights. There's definitely some very exciting fights, especially the first one we're about to break down. But as a whole, a lot of people are like, "Oh, it's a name brand, it might not be the best," but those are the type of cards that I would probably say 7 out of 10 times overperformed, and we're like, "Oh shit, it was a very good fight night card."
Absolutely. And like you said, that very first fight on the card is definitely potential fight of the night worthy. We got Victor Altamirano and Vinicius Salvador. Salvador is finally going to make his debut after having, I think, two fights called off.
Yep,
One or two. It
it was one
was
of
two. It was two. Clayton Rodriguez and Daniel Da Silva. So both of those fights had been called off in 2 months' time. So now he's making his debut. And Altamirano got his first UFC win in a very impressive finish, first round on Daniel Da Silva. So this one should be a good one. I'll let you take this one first, Joey.
Walter Moreno. I thought this was his third fight in the UFC.
Second. Yeah, sorry. I didn't. Did I
Okay,
say first?
yeah,
I know. I said first win because he
a
lost
first
his
win.
he lost
Yeah.
his debut.
So everyone's going to beat De Silva, and eventually you probably hear that prediction later on. Alta Moreno is the more well-rounded, but there's the only thing I don't like about it. He's the shorter fighter. I don't like how he leaves his hands down, going in and out. He does have good volume, but as I said, when he comes in and out with his volume, he does tend to get touched up a little bit. Um, he has decent offensive takedowns. I wouldn't say they're great. They're not good enough to hold somebody the hell down. Um, Salvador, he's a slick, mean striker. He was actually an underdog on his contender series fight against Ross, who just fought Rodriguez and got smoked. And Salvador pretty much did the same thing. He smoked him for 2 rounds, and eventually got the late finish. Very good volume. I don't like his to him it's his confidence. I say his cockiness. He acts like he's like Anderson Silva with Roy Jones Jr. Oh, I'm gonna lean back against the cage, bob and weave, leave my guard down, and I'm untouchable. He does have a 100% finish rate, but his takedown defense is absolute shit. But two things either happen: either Altamirano will weather the storm early, get a takedown, and maybe get a ground and pound or sub, or Salvador will catch Altamirano coming in with his hands down and potentially knock him the hell out. So before I make my actual pick, if you're doing any type of DraftKings FanDuel, this is one of the fights I really do believe you gotta have. Pick your side. If you feel confident to one side, go to the one side. Me, I'm like I said, I was torn on this fight all day. I'm going Alta Moreno for being more well-rounded. The so-called more UFC vet. Um, I do like Salvador long term, but I don't know how he makes 125 with his long frame. He's gonna be somebody I think that will work his way up to 35 eventually. But yeah, I'm gonna be on the more well-rounded Alta Moreno. But is there a confidence pick? I'll say, like I said, this fight's 50-50 to me.
That's fair. It is 50-50. It is really close, and it will be one of two things. It'll either be Altamirano taking him down over and over and just keeping him flush on the mat, or Salvador winning by knockout. I think Salvador is the better fighter. Altamirano beat Daniel Da Silva. That's not really saying a whole lot because
Everyone
everyone
will.
beat Da Silva. Um, and he lost to the hell's his name?
Catalario,
No, he beat
which I
Candelario.
thought
He lost
I,
to
th- I
Carlos
thought
Hernandez by a
could
split
lose
decision.
to.
Carlos Hernandez.
I thought that
Um,
fight was close. I thought he won that fight, but
it was a very close fight. It was a split decision. It really could have gone either way. It was that close, but I think that Salvador is a better fighter than Hernandez, and if Hernandez or Salvador, if he can keep the fight on the feet, then gonna he's gonna win
Mhm.
this fight by knockout. But yeah, like you said, this is a 50-50 fight. It's really close. Pick your piece and then go with it because one of these guys is gonna go score really well. So that said, we are split on the very first pick or fight on the card. You're going with Altamirano, and I'm going with Salvador.
For DraftKings, pick your side.
Yep. Next up, we have Manuel Torres and Trey Ogden. This is a really interesting fight because Ogden is a superb BJJ black belt. He has really, really good Brazilian jiu-jitsu, and he could he could come in here, take him down, and submit it really fast. The only thing that I don't like about Ogden is he likes to leave himself in awkward positions, and he's not the greatest on the feet. To where Torres is just a freaking monster and can grapple and strike. And to me, that's just the difference in this one. I think Torres, we talked about this a little bit. I'll leave your portion to you, but I think that Ogden comes forward and catches a knee or something like that, and he just gets knocked out in the first round. So I'm on Torres. He is one of my favorite plays, but Ogden could surprise, and if he does anything GPP wise, he'd be probably score really well.
I'm also on Torres. He's the more well-rounded fighter. He is the more dangerous fighter. One thing I did not like, I know it was his debut on short notice. He got outstruck by Jordan Levitt. I didn't like watching that the first fight. He looked a bit better in his second fight against the who did he fight his second fight? The taller, rangy kid that made his debut. He looked a little better, but he was basically just not throwing much volume and just out circled the kid the entire time. What I'm thinking this fight's going to go is I think Torres is going to hit him clean. And Ogden is a sloppy takedown guy. He's not traditional in his takedowns. He is a sloppy fighter with a low percentage on the takedown. So your ideal is a knee. That's very doable with Torres because how crafty and athletic he is. I'm thinking he rocks him with a punch. Ogden gets desperate, shoots an ugly takedown, and I'm going more submission. But ideally, we get a first round finish. He's going to crash that price either way. The only thing I'll say about Torres, he is a kill to be killed guy. He's only been out of the first round once, and that was a 3-round decision. But besides that, he's a kill to be killed guy. He does have 2 submission losses in the first round, but from what I saw, they were like mainly, I don't want to say lucky, but I think one was like an ankle lock and another one was something stupid. But Ogden could maybe get something if he rocks him, but I'm leaning Torres all the way. As you said, both our projections are good. I think either he eats a knee and goes absolutely to sleep if Ogden hasn't got knocked out yet, but it's very durable to do it because he leaves his chin out there to get touched. And you let Jordan Levitt touch you as much as he did, if you let Torres touch you even a quarter amount, I'm sorry, boy, you're going to sleep. Or get rocked and then potentially get subbed, which I'm projecting a sub. But either way, Torres round 1 at 8,500 is one of my favorite plays as well. He's going to be in any type of hand build lineup I do, cash or GPP. That's one of the easiest plays I'll lock in.
Absolutely, I'm right there with you. So both of us going with Torres, both of us like him in pretty much every sense of the word.
Oh, yeah.
Next up, we got CJ Vergara and Daniel Da Silva. I hate this fight, so I'll let you take it first.
I'm not too big fan of it either, but the one thing I will say, and I give credit, a lot of people are saying, why is Da Silva in the UFC? If you watch his fights, you'll see why. He's very exciting. Even though he's lost his fights, he is very exciting, and that's what the UFC will look like and look towards. Even if you lose, exciting, okay, we can get you another opponent. We can get you this. Still give him people chance after chance. But I think this potentially Silva's last chance. He needs to go out there and win this fight. Like I said, he's a wild, well-rounded guy. He's mainly wild on the feet that looks for his power, but he does have very good slick BJJ, which there's times which we don't see. I honestly feel he has 3 minutes to finish this fight. Then his cardio is absolute dog shit. Then Vergara is going to take over. He is the more better boxer, decent takedown defense, but I didn't like how he got his back taken against who's his last fight that subbed him?
Tatsuro Taira.
Tyra's a beast. That's a different level. I'm not ashamed. I wouldn't be ashamed of that. You got caught by Tyra. But Vergara, I wish he would put more on the gas tank because he does have some good freaking hands. And he showed that against O'Day Osborne, which I thought he beat O'Day in that fight. Um, I think maybe late round one, early round two, when De Silva's done, I think at some point Vergara's going to catch him.
Well, I can't disagree with that. I mean, it's been a second round knockout, first round submission, and a first round knockout for De Silva's losses. And like you said, there's a reason they have him in the UFC and why he's got another fight. That's where if this is a loss, it will be his last fight. He will
Oh
be
yeah,
gone. But he is an exciting fighter, and he is one of those fighters that can break open a slate with some ridiculous, knockout or submission in the first round. His biggest problem is his fight IQ. It's absolutely terrible. He makes a lot of silly mistakes. Like in the Figueiredo fight, he took him down. He looked good to start, took him down. He had control. He went too far and then got himself submitted. The Altamirano fight, he didn't have anything. He did knock him down in that fight. I mean,
oh yeah, he clipped him.
so he clipped him. He had him down. He just didn't charge, and Altamirano recovered and ultimately finished him in that round. So I mean, he's got the ability to end this early, and you have to take that into consideration for GPP contests. But I like Vergara. Vergara should be able to avoid the power and the submission game. Um, he beat Clayton Rodriguez. It was a really close fight. He lost to Tyra. He lost to Osborne. All three of them those are pretty good fights, even with the losses. So he's definitely the better boxer of the two. He should have the advantage there. He just needs to avoid getting knocked out, getting clipped, getting submitted. And like you said, after the first round, it should be all Vergara. So both of us going with CJ Vergara.
9,300 on DraftKings.
He's probably going to be popular in cash and GPP contests. So, go ahead and lock him in. We've said that 2 weeks in a row we said lock somebody in and they lost. So if that's any indication, De Silva might win this fight.
The only thing I'll say about De Silva in this fight, which I didn't like about Vergara, it seems like in all his fights he finds his way to get touchable because he's waiting to find his range with his dirty boxing. But don't do that against De Silva. Just survive, and then you can take over.
Yeah, both of us going with CJ Vergara. Next up, we got Trevin Giles and Preston Parsons, and I know we're split on this one, unless you changed your mind. But I think this is a step up too soon for Parsons. I don't think he's got the ability to match Giles. I really don't. Giles is a really good fighter. He's definitely faced the better competition. He's got a good stand-up game. He's got a good ground game. The wrestling in this one should be almost even. He's better on the feet. Yes, it is. The grappling is where it's different. So I mean, you look at the three losses or the two losses that Giles has, it was to Michael Morales up here, Dricus du Plessis up here. I mean, he beat Roman Delids, who just was, he's a top 10 fighter now. And Koshi, I don't remember that fight too well, but
I don't either.
He also beat James Krause back in the day. So, yeah, I like Giles. Giles is the more complete fighter. Parsons is probably, to be honest, I think Parsons just gets overwhelmed in this fight. I think it's a step up too soon, and I don't think Parsons is going to be able to handle it. So I'm all Giles, and I love where his price point is at DK.
One thing I'll say, if this fight was at 185, which I do prefer Giles at 185, I'd be all over Giles. I don't like him at 170. He makes more of a bigger cut to get down to 170.
Yeah, but then he puts it right back on.
Yeah,
he's going to be 15 pounds heavier than Parsons on fight night.
I just like him at 185. He moves a lot better. But the only thing I'll say is there's times where, yes, I'll say right now, Giles does have some crisp boxing. He will be the better striker, and it's not even going to be close. But the only thing about Giles, I don't like, there's times where he is low volume. He'll circle around, be low volume, and that's what scares me in this fight. Because one thing I'll say about Parsons, he is an aggressive come-forward striker. His striking is sloppy. It's ugly as shit. But he uses his overhands to set down low to shoot towards the legs. And that's what I like about him. He's going to do that. I can guarantee within 2 rounds, if this fight doesn't finish, he'll have damn near 9 takedown attempts within 2 rounds. He is a chain wrestler. He's going to go for takedowns. And he doesn't get his foot off the pedal. He's always coming forward, even if he gets touched a little bit. I think he's going to be the more aggressive fighter. But I think Giles is going to be the more dangerous fighter on the feet, as long as it stays on the feet. If Giles lets his hands go, there's a chance he can clip this kid. But I'm going with someone that's going to put his foot on the pedal, steady being Giles' face, work for takedowns because, look, he may not get the first, he may not get the second, but he's going to work to chain wrestle his way down to this fight to the ground. And as you said, wrestling, it could be close. it could be a slightly favored Parsons in the wrestling just by slim, not by too much. But if you want to go off pure grappling, there's levels. Parsons is a very dangerous grappler. 9 of his wins are by submission. And I think if he gets Giles flat by any means, Giles is screwed. So depends on their style. If Giles can stop takedowns and let his hands go, I think he can TKO him before round 3. But if Parsons can work in his takedowns, I just don't see the judges in this fight. I just don't. Either way, if Giles lets the hands go, he can knock him out. If Parsons gets to the ground flat, he will submit Giles within 2 rounds.
I will say that if it does go to the scorecards.
I think it might be Giles because he might be the more busy guy on the feet.
Not only that, but guess where Giles is born?
I know, home field.
San
I know.
Antonio. So
I think that's why if I'm Parsons, look, I'm going for the finish. If he gets Giles flat by any chance or gets a limb, he's gonna snatch it quick. So this is another fight. Like some people say to avoid this fight. Depends on how many people you feel.
Here's another reason. So we saw D-Rod knock Parsons out, and I think Giles is a better version of D-Rod.
But a little more or less. But at least D-Rod has volume.
Does he though? Because he's been really slow his last 2 fights.
Yeah, he has. Like, was it? He almost got knocked out against what's his name. Then he came back and won by TKO. Then, well, all I know is D-Rod, his next fight, he's gonna have to be on his P's and Q's or he's getting slept. But
who's
what?
Who's Parsons been training with?
I don't know, but I know I just love his wrestling, and he's a very good slick grappler.
He is a good grappler, and I will say if he gets Giles down, he could find that submission. I mean, Giles, both of his losses, he's been knocked out twice. He's been submitted twice. Now his knockouts were, like I said, Morales and Duplessis. That's not really saying a whole lot. Getting knocked out by those two, and one of his submission losses was to Mearshart. So that's also not saying a whole lot. I really wish I could find who Parsons is training with.
I could probably tell you in the next couple seconds. I got my Weber on.
That's all right. So, anyways, both of us are split on this one as well. I'm going with Trevin Giles. You're with Preston Parsons.
Yep.
And I do think this is another good one to target in DFS because they are relatively, they're the mid-range guys, and those mid-range guys are usually the ones that, you got to have in your lineup. So, next up we have Steven Peterson and Lucas Alexander, and I will let you take this one first.
Alexander, his first fight, he took it on extreme short notice against Brito. And what happened? Brito caught him, finished him quick. Peterson, by record, you might say this guy sucks, but he is well-rounded. And what I like about him, he takes any fight at anything the UFC will throw at him. If you tell me who's the better striker, it's going to be Alexander. He's more powerful in the strikes. Peterson is more wild, but also more well-rounded. But he'll make it a dirty clinch phone boot boxing fight. He also has decent takedowns he could mix in, which I do recommend. If he mixes in the takedowns, he should win this fight with no problem. And he also is a very good BJJ specialist in his own right. So if he gets Alexander flat, there's a chance maybe he can get a finish. But the only thing about Peterson I like is his IQ. When he needs to wrestle, he doesn't wrestle. When he needs to wrestle, or when he doesn't wrestle, he needs to wrestle. His IQ's terrible. But he's just a backyard dog who doesn't give a shit. He goes to fight, and I think this fight goes to decision. Especially if Peterson doesn't use takedowns. If Peterson using takedowns, there's a chance I think he could get a finish. But for DK, I'm probably gonna fade it. I have too many questions on it. Alexander is a sneaky striker, but if you're telling me at this stage 15 minutes striking, I do favor Alexander because he's the more well-rounded striker as a whole. But if it's a pure mixed martial arts fight, I think Peterson will probably get a decision win.
So who are you going with?
I'm going Peterson.
So both of us are on Peterson, except I am a lot more confident in Peterson than you are. And I already told you this. I think that Peterson wins this fight early by submission.
I think he's a step down in competition for him.
Lucas Alexander, I went and watched more of his stuff because I wanted to see what people were excited about with him, and I couldn't find anything. To me, he's not an impressive fighter. I don't have anything that I'm like, oh, cool, great, you're amazing. No, there's no wow factor to me. His win against Jacob Kilburn was, it's whatever. It's nothing that impressive. He was in the UFC for a couple fights and then he was out because he lost him. Other than that, on his record, he has not faced anybody. He has not beaten anybody. Peterson's got a lot of losses on his record, but he's got 19 wins and 13 of them are by knockout and submission. So he's definitely faced a lot better. I don't think he's going to see the volume that even Arosa put out. So Peterson should, I think, actually will have the advantage everywhere this fight goes. I don't think Alexander's going to stand a chance unless we see some just ultra crazy training crap that he had. But I'm on Peterson. I like him by submission in the first or second round. So both of us going with Steven Peterson. And
Yep.
next up, we got a bit of a stalemate type of fight to me. It's Daniel Pineda and Tucker Lutz. I do think Lutz wins this fight. He will likely win this fight by either knockout or decision. But people got to remember that Daniel Pineda has won all of his fights by finish. He's never won a decision, and he's only lost 5 of them. But he's also been finished 9 times. He's also now 37. His cardio's look bad. He's definitely lost his steps. So I mean, his Tucker's fight to lose. Yeah, to me, that's all there really is to it. What's Tucker's price tag?
9,200.
Yeah, so
I think
Tucker,
the wrestling credentials as a whole slightly Pineda, but Pineda is up there in age with his cardio. So it wouldn't shock me at one point when Pineda does slow down Lutz's overall strength in wrestling, because he does have good wrestling credentials, but he's mainly, oh, I'm stronger than you. I will scoop you up in the air. I will carry you to my corner and I will drop you type of takedowns. Pineda is more faster, and I'm gonna change levels quick and get a hold of your leg for a blast. But
so I
the
can
only
see
thing
this.
I'd be careful about this fight, if you actually go back to Pineda's fights, somehow lately, I don't know how or why, they end in no contests.
Only one. It's just the Andre Feely fight. Yeah.
I saw 3. In my notes, I have 3.
Well, you're wrong because he's lost 3 of the last 4 actual fights, and he's got 1 no contest.
Let me see. Pineda. He's won 1 and 3 in the last 5. 3 no contests.
No, he's got. Yeah, those were in the PFL. You got to ignore those.
No, I'm just saying as a whole. If I'm going off the pure, like, always look at the last 5. But I think after round 1, I think Lutz will pick it up. His striking's a bit sloppy, but he does have his own power. If anything, I think it could be a late finish by Lutz, or it wouldn't shock me if this fight goes to decision, because unless Lutz shows he's dangerous, he's more control than finish. I'll give him, he's a very strong guy, but honestly, I don't want to compare him to another fighter I somewhat know of, but it's nothing crazy. His style kind of reminds me of Jesse Taylor a little bit. Like, Jesse Taylor's a strong, brute out muscle guy that will shoot takedown. Striking ain't the best, but he has good power. But I do got Lutz winning this fight. Maybe a late finish, but what I'm kind of hoping at 9,200, especially if he had to survive round 1, maybe go to all 3, get takedowns, control. Because at 9,200, if he doesn't get a finish, I think he's going to lead, between 4 takedowns, maybe 5 with control.
Probably.
If anything, to pay off 92. Unless he does it for all 3 rounds, then gets a late finish, then he'll pay off 92. But I'm torn on this fight as a whole as playing it. But to me, it is probably a Lutz or pass.
Yep, I agree with that. I think if anything, Pineda could win for the first round, but I think that would be about it. At that point, Lutz would take over. Yeah, I'm not sure about his price. It could be one of those fights where he, scores 80 in decision or wins in the second round and he scores 80 or 90, or it could be one of those fights where he just changed takedowns control and he scores 130 and blows our minds. So I prefer the former in those. I think it's going to be a slower paced fight. We'll see, but both of us going.
I do have a sneaky play with this. I do think Pineda does lose, but it could be somewhat similar to where, let's say he gets 3 takedowns, 4 takedowns. In a loss, he can score 40. So I don't think this. I think this could be a wild card. Maybe you can still cash with one loss, and then you can get to the other payups. But as a whole, Pineda's a sneaky play at 7, but I still think he loses. And me, I'm trying to go 6 for 6 always, but we'll see.
Yep, no, I don't disagree. It's hard to trust Pineda. Like I said, he's 37. He's slowing down. So both of us going with Tucker Lutz. Next up, we have one of my favorite fights on the card, and that's because I'm on the dog. We got Chidi and Jokwani and Albert Duraev. I have already told you where I'm at on this fight. It's either going to be a Jokwani first round knockout because Duraev does stand very flat footed. He has been knocked out, I think, 4 times. Yeah, all 4 of his losses have been by knockout. Or we're going to go with my option, my version, where Duraev takes him down and just chains takedowns and control and keeps him on the mat. I don't think that Jokwani is a very uh, high ranked fighter, I guess we could say. He's a good fighter, don't get me wrong. I just don't think he's quite there yet. And to me, I love the game of Duraev, and I love his ability to get the fight down to the mat. So I am all over this dog. He is my favorite dog on the card. He's one of my favorite picks on the card. And though we've seen how those have turned out sometimes lately, that's where we're at.
I'll say this right now, as you pretty much broke it down. If Njokuani is going to win, it might be in the first round. If Duraev is going to be flat-footed and try to throw wild, because there is a chance that Njokuani could land that easy 1-2 and put Duraev's lights out cold. Or, and this is what I've seen on the Njokuani side, once you close the distance on him and get to that freaking body and then get down, shoot lower for the chain wrestling, he's a fish off his back. Like, he finds a way up to an extent, but he just keeps accepting, oh, shit, I'm getting taken down. I'll get take down. And people are going to say, oh, look at Duraev. He couldn't take Buckley down.
Buckley's got good takedown defense.
That's 1. And 2, they were longtime training partners. And there was a lot of shit talking going on. And I think that's what got the Duraev's head. Like, you know what? I think I've been, out striking him in practice. That wasn't true during the fight. But I think this is a get right spot for Duraev. And then, honestly, these are 2 prospects I think could get close within the top 15 to 20 eventually. I'm more on the Duraev side because, like I said, I'm going to be scared until he shoots a takedown. But once he gets a takedown and control, I don't see Njokuani getting up.
I think
it might be it may not finish in round 1. I think Duraev could get control time.
I want to finish in round 1. I want to finish at a decision.
Yeah, think about it. At 7,400, get him what, 4 to 6 takedowns? That's 60. Maybe a lot of control time, decision. What, low 100? I'm fine with that for 74. Yeah, my pick's gonna be Duraev. I think this is a get right spot. I hope people aren't gonna be on him because they watched the Buckley fight, and I'll definitely be all over Duraev.
Yep, and Duraev's got the better cardio too. So
yep.
If Jokwani is spending a lot of time getting up, he's definitely going to struggle in this fight. Once it gets outside of the first round, if he's already been trying to get up multiple times, it's going to be a beautiful fight for Duraev. So both of us going with Albert Duraev. Next up, we have Alex Perez and Manel Kopp. And let's see if your opinion changed on this fight.
Honestly, I think these odds should be a little bit closer. They're both very good, well-rounded. Perez, he's pretty much been losing to title contenders. He lost to Figueiredo. He lost to Pantoja, which I think is going to end up taking the title down the road. Pantoja's a freak. One thing I'll say about Cape, when he's on, he's on. And I hope he's on during this fight because Perez will bring the fight to him. And he better be on his P's and Q's. If he's on his P's and Q's, I think this could potentially be fight of the night.
What if he's on his K's and L's?
I sure hope he's not on his K's and L's because he might get that freaking L in the end of the fight if he's on his L's. But I think this actually be a good action-packed fight. If anyone's going to shoot takedowns, I think if it's going to be an action-packed fight, I think if someone's going to shoot takedowns eventually, it's going to be Perez. But Perez better be careful. Like, I learned a lot from watching Cape versus Dvorak. Cape doesn't tap. He's like, Dvorak had him in a mean sub. He's like, yo, I ain't tapping, bro. You better snap me. And Cape actually showed his own pretty well good BJJ on the ground control as he getting a hold of Dvorak. So Kate might be live for a sneaky submission potentially, because most of Perez losses is by submission. But I think this could potentially be fight of the night. If anybody does get knocked out, I think it could be Perez with how over aggressive he can be coming in and out. Because Cape, I told you, I think Cape reminds me of a more well-rounded Paul Daly. And all it takes with Cape is one shot like he did with Paul Daly with his left hand. Cape has that one touch power. He can put anybody to sleep. My Cape, I said my Cape. My pick will be Cape. I don't know about the 89. I'm going to move it around. If I think he gets a finish, I'm going to play it. I'm definitely keeping him in my fighter pool. It's going to be Cape or pass for me. I know other people are going to say it's the other way around, but I'm more on Cape than I am Perez.
All right. So
my mind did change, by the way.
yes, you did. I was about to say that you definitely changed off of Perez, and Perez is a good fighter. Don't get me wrong, but the problem with Perez is lately he's been trying to just be a striker, and you can go back basically seven fights. Yep, 7 total fights, and he's averaged, besides the 3-round decision, he averages about a takedown, maybe 2 a fight. And doing that against Cop is going to get him knocked out. And I told you this earlier. Of the last 7 fights that Perez has been in, 6 of them have ended in the first round.
Mainly by sub.
Lost by sub, win by KO, win by sub, win by knockout. So, I mean, he's definitely got the ability. The problem is he's going against a guy who has been insanely impressive over the last 3 fights. This is somebody that I was completely off of after his first 2 losses. And I was like, what the hell is going on? Why is he fighting like this? And I thought it was going to be done. Then he came out against Osborne. He had that flying knee, and then his whole, like, everything changed. Came out, knocked out Zhalgas Zumagulov, and then that fight against Dvorak was just really, really impressive. So I think this is just another stepping stone for Cop. I think Cop is going to knock him out in the first round. He, for me, is a big play because I think Dvorak's got a better chin than Perez does.
Oh yeah,
he was able to put Dvorak down one time. So he's averaging 1 knockdown every fight. He had 2 against Zhumagulov. I think Perez is just going to end up on his back, knocked out, sleeping. So. Both of us going with Manel Cop. And next up, we have Andrea KGB Lee and Macy the Future Barber. I love this fight though. I really do. If there's a fight that you want to tune into to watch a bunch of action and just shit happening the whole fight, this is this fight. People can say what they want about women's MMA, man. Some of these fights are just ridiculously good, and these 2 ladies are going to be that. Both of them have a lot of volume. Both of them love to get down and dirty. Barber loves the dirty box. She loves the clinch. She loves the takedown. So does Lee. Both of them have really good training partners. I can't say enough about this fight. I'm on Barber because I do think she is slightly better everywhere, but I would not be surprised if Lee took this.
So I'll say this right now. I'm also on Barber. Who's the more dangerous? I'll be honest with you. I think it's Lee. Lee does somehow randomly pull these type of fights out her ass. If anybody's going to shoot a takedown first, it wouldn't shock me if Barber, because I think Lee is faster out of the 2 strikers. But Barber's more that, okay, you're going to be faster. I'm going to come forward with pressure. I'm going to close the distance. I'm going to make it a dirty boxing fight. I'm going to do some clinch. I may get some takedowns. I may hold you down. As a DFS play, even though I say we're both on Barber as a pick, I think it's Lee or pass for DFS. I don't see Barber paying off 91. I just don't see her paying off 91.
Not without a first round finish.
She hasn't paid what she averaged, like 70 to low 80
points, if that.
Yeah.
Over the last 3 wins. Yeah.
So if anything, I'm probably gonna fade it, but if you told me I had to pick a side for DFS, I'd probably say Lee. Because like I said, more volume. She has slick submissions off her back. But like I said, her takedown defense ain't that good.
I'd still stick with Barber even in that scenario, just because I do think she wins this fight.
Yeah, if you're looking at, I guess, for wins, for points, but
this is one of those fights where you could put Andrea Lee into cash because she should score at least 30 in a loss, which, I mean, generally for that is solid. So, but yeah, I really like Barber in this fight. I think she's just going to be a step ahead everywhere, and I think that's going to be the difference. So both of us going with Macy Barber.
Yep.
We got Nate Landwehr and Austin Lingo. I'm not a fan of this fight. I know you're not really either. The odds for this fight should be a lot closer than they are. The only
They have
problem,
they have closed down since I told you. Like they're
I don't
still
think
200 for. I
well,
don't know that.
that's probably about where it needs to be. The problem with Lingo is he's so one dimensional. He's like a boxer only, um, which is his boxing is good. Don't get me wrong, but Landwehr throws more volume, and he's got a decent chin on him. So I like Landwehr in this fight. He should have the tools to get past Lingo, but I don't expect a huge score to come out of it.
So Landwehr is the wild guy. He's more well rounded. Only thing about Landwehr I don't like, two things, is IQ. When, like I said to a fight earlier, I think I said with Peterson. When Peterson needs to strike, he doesn't strike. When he needs to wrestle, he doesn't wrestle. Same thing with Landwehr, but Landwehr is more wild. He has good power, don't get me wrong. But one thing I don't like, when he comes out wild, and he showed it against David Onama. I thought he got knocked out against Onama. I think after his head hit back to the ground, he woke up from it. But he showed against Onama, you know what? Screw this. I'm fighting for the fans. I'm fighting for the fans. I'm not fighting to win. I'm fighting for the fans. For us, that's good as hell. We love the entertainment. But sooner or later, he's going to do that. And I think someone's going to sleep him terribly, similar to what Herbert Burns did. And, that's a bad look because Herbert Burns, I thought it was going to be decent, but I don't think he's even in the UFC no more. So if Landwehr comes out and says, I'm going to make this a wild striking fight, this fight could be 50-50 if it's a striking fight because Lingo does have Chris ass boxing. Good
Well,
combinations.
one of the other problems is Lingo has had 3 other fights that have been scheduled since the beginning of 2022, and they've all been canceled. So he hasn't fought since August of 2021. That's a long
What
time
sucks because I was actually excited for that, him and Ramos, the last fight, and Ramos missed by like 9 pounds. Freaking fatty. But I'll tell you right now, Landwehr's IQ. Landwehr is also hittable. That's what I like about him. He's hittable, but he keeps coming forward. I love it. But he's also chinny at times. He gets rocked. He gets boomed. I'm going Lingo. Look, Lingo hasn't. Look, he had one fight where people question his takedown defense as a whole, but he has 80% takedown defense. It was his first fight on short notice against Salal, which smaller fighter got the level. Boom. If it stays standing, I think Lingo could potentially TKO him. Lingo's boxing is legit.
I would agree with you if he was able to do more damage to Luis Saldana, who just stands there.
I agree, but here's the thing: he's also getting knockdowns, so he has sneaky power. So, and you've seen when Landwehr gets rocked, he falls. And knowing how some judges, not all judges, some judges and refs, they see that kind of stuff, they stop the fight right away. So could it be a fluky stoppage? Like, yo, I'm good. It could be, especially if Lingo lands clean combinations, which he does have good combinations. But yeah, I'm going Lingo. I think Lingo's been eager to fight. He's been ready to fight. I think he's going to come out aggressive at home, and I think he might actually finish Landwehr because the Landwehr said that he wants to come out aggressive early. That's fine by me. I want to see fight. Lingo, I don't think Lingo gets knocked out. I think if anything, if Landwehr's going to come out aggressive, he's going to strike, change levels, and test the takedown defense. But yeah, I'm going Lingo. I think this fight should be a lot closer. Minus 200, I can understand a little bit because Lingo they take the fight on short notice, but he's also prepping for a fight, so I wouldn't necessarily. I think this is a lesser fight for Ramos. Ramos to me is a harder fighter than Landwehr. Ramos is more dangerous everywhere. Landwehr, you just got to worry about the whole craziness. He's like Landwehr's that country redneck that's wild as shit and doesn't protect his chin. But that's also the entertaining part for us. But I think Lingo is going to catch him clean. 6,800. You've been seeing these crazy odds. These higher tier fighters lose to closer odds. Like last week, Veronica Hardy absolutely steamrolled Juliana Miller. Juliana Miller didn't even look like she belonged in UFC. She looked like the female version of Ryan Hall trying to lay on her back.
Yeah, but you can't compare Landwehr. Landwehr has
I only compare it because the price tag.
Ludovic Klein, and Klein's extremely dangerous. So that is all that I need to see right there.
I only compared the price tags, not the fighters, because it was around the same price range for the price tags. But besides that, Landwehr is actually the better fighter. Juliana Miller, I hope she gets some experience. I know she's going to get another fight, but that was just god awful.
Well, anyways, so
We're
you're
still,
going with Austin Lingo. I think
yep.
you're going to regret that decision because if Ludovic Klein couldn't knock him out, Lingo's not going to knock him out.
I think Ludovic Klein's power is not at
You're out
55.
of your freaking mind.
He needs to go back to 45.
So I'm going with Landwehr. You're going with Lingo. Next up, we got Holly Holm and Yana Santos, formerly Kunskaya. And I will let you take your girl first.
So I'll say this right now. If it stays standing, the fight could stay close. I mean this. If it stays standing, the fight could stay close. I'm shocked Holly Holm is still fighting. She's 41 years old.
She
And
signed a
crazy.
6-fight contract.
Hey man, she still cuts weight with no problem. That's insane. I give her credit for that. 41. Apparently, she's got a 6-fight contract renewal. So we'll see how that goes. I hardly doubt she fights for all 6. This is Santos' first fight since coming back from a pregnancy, and you can tell by the last name change. Now she's married to former UFC fighter Thiago Santos. He put the hammer in it. But besides that, I told people this. I think who's the more well-rounded? I think it's Santos. Santos does have sneaky takedowns. She may not show them fully, but she does have her own sneaky type of takedowns. Not much BJJ, but me and her takedowns are like, okay, when I'm on top, I'm gonna control you. I'll throw a little bit of ground and pound. I like a good mix up of strikes. She mixes up her good 1-2s and then mixes in with a good leg kick. As a DFS fight, I think this is Santos or I honestly pass. Holly Holm, she can win this fight, but you've seen how some Holly Holm fights goes. The decisions aren't the best. Like I thought she beat Vera, but of course the judges didn't think it. But one thing I say is I think Santos actually beat Vera or Vieira. So I think this fight is actually gonna stay close. Apparently I heard rumors they think Santos' last fight before her layoff, she was fighting pregnant, apparently. And that was the fight she got TKO'd in, I believe. So I don't know how accurate it is. I heard rumors saying people said they thought that she was fighting pregnant.
That's possible. That would make sense.
Yeah.
She didn't know about it yet.
So yeah, I think this fight, I think the odds are way too high. And I got a lot of shit for saying that to other people. I think the
who's your pick? Who are you going with?
Unfortunately, I'm going Holly Holm.
Okay, good.
And I know you're going to switch your
Oh, yeah. I already told you this is my surprise pick. I am going with Yana Santos. And there's a few reasons why. So Holly Holm has this stupid ass fighting style where she circles around the ring and it drives me freaking nuts. Mm-hmm. She'll throw a kick and then she'll put you against the cage. And trust me, she's got probably the best clinch in women's UFC.
And not even close.
But I can't stand that fighting style. So many people, there's probably a lot of people that don't know this, but Santos and Holly Holm used to train together.
That's true.
Santos is very familiar with how she fights. They were, they used to be friends. Oh, I'm sure they still are friends, but like I said, they used to train together. And I fully expect Santos to come in with the game plan to stop her running, piece her up on the feet, and take her down. I do think that Santos is the better grappler. And if she gets this on the mat, I think she submits Holly Holm.
That'd be huge.
So I am in a lone boat by myself for the most part with that one. Just about everybody is on Holly Holm. The percent on Tapology, 86% of people are with Holly Holm. I don't blame them. It is Holly Holm, but yeah, she's 41 now. She definitely does not have, the cardio and the quickness that she used to have. Santos is coming back from having a baby, but this is the second time she's done it. She knows how the process is. She knows how her body feels. She already knows, she's ready for this. I think she wins this fight. Santos is my pick, and she's my second favorite dog on this card.
One thing I'll say is I don't know if the UFC is going to do it. I think Holly Holm's towards the back end of her career. I would love to see Holly Holm versus a wrestler, but we're not going to see it.
You bite on this?
No, I'm talking about like a pure, like a Sarah McMahon type of wrestler. Someone that's going to chain wrestle the shit out of her and just keep on her ass.
Well, and if you say that, but now that you say that, what I want to see is a rematch with Pennington.
She has 2 wins over Pennington, apparently.
She does. I want to see another match with Pennington willing to wrestle, is what I want to see. But yeah, so both of us split on this one as well. You're going with Holly Holm. I am with Yana Santos. Next up,
I'm
we
fading the
have
fight though.
yeah, well, yeah, it's
But your
Santos.
side, no. Your side, no. But Santos is the preferred play on BK.
Next up, we got the main event. It is Marlon Vera versus Corey Sandhagen, and this should be an absolute banger, as both of their fights are always. And I know both of us are on the side of Sandhagen, unless you changed. Is that correct? Or are you changing on me? All right.
Look, I'll
Well,
tell you, it's like that. Look, where I'm at right now is like how I was on Glover and Hill.
so here's my thing. So we've seen Vera knock out Dominic Cruz. You know, he's an older guy. He was losing that fight until he got knocked out. We saw him beat Rob Font, which I don't think he won that fight because Rob Font pieced the shit out of him the entire fight.
He pretty much won that fight because of damage.
So 270 strikes later.
Yep.
Um, Frankie Edgar, another older fighter, knocked him out with that nasty kick that made his face look all goofy.
Ugh.
And he went to decision against Davy Grant. He beat it, so he lost to Aldo, and he beat Sean O'Malley, but he beat Sean O'Malley due to that injury. So you don't know how that fight was going to go. You go over to the Sandhagen side. He last beat Song Yadong. He
Good
lost to
fight.
Petr Young, who had the belt at the time. He lost to TJ Dillashaw, who another former contender. He used to have the belt. It was back in 2021. So, whatever. He also beat, Edgar with a flying knee. Another fighter. He knocked out Marlon Moraes, who's another older fighter. He lost to Sterling, who currently has the belt. He beat a Sun Sao. So, I mean, both guys have relatively similar track records as
Mhm.
far as competition goes. So it's going to come down to who the better fighter is. And for me, Vera's fighting style, and I know I'm not the only one to say this, it's not sustainable. He likes to start slow and just magically try to finish later. Well, you can't really do that against Sandhagen because the way Sandhagen fights is he's constantly in your face. He reminds me of Max Holloway.
I agree.
He's Max Holloway with slightly better wrestling and maybe not as crisp or clean striking because Max is just insane. But I mean that's the style of fighting that Sandhagen puts out, and those guys are so hard to hit clean. They're so hard to put away, and I think it's going to cause a lot of problems for Vera. If so, Sterling beat him, finished him, and he finished him by submission. And Sterling is just one of the best grapplers in the world. He just
Yeah.
is. Vera's not on that level. If
He's
he
not.
came out and said Vera was just continuously trying to get takedowns and submissions, okay, well, I'd probably give him a slight chance. But he's not going to. He's going to stand. He's going to stay on the feet. So I think Sandhagen just pieces him up from range, and Vera's not going to be able to get into the pocket to take care of anything. So I'm all Sandhagen all the way.
So one thing I can say, like, and I actually was on the side of Vera, at least for DFS purpose, his last two fights where he came back and won. And one thing I'll say about this, and I actually picked this up from watching another show, and I told you what Monk said. When Sandhagen loses, he allows fighters to get over 100 and so DFS points. That's a little like okay. Then maybe Vera will let his combinations go a little bit because Sandhagen does welcome brawls at time. Um, yeah, his takedowns ain't the best, but there's times where Corey does let his hands go and gets a little wild, and then maybe a one blast double can get in a little bit. But Corey got very good get up game, and he's comfortable on his back a little bit. But one thing I will give Vera, when he is on the ground, he is very slick. Is he Aljo slick? No. But does he have more than mid-level submissions? Yes. Um, I don't see Sandhagen get knocked out. If he's the first person to knock out Sandhagen, then holy shit. Because Vera does have crack in his hands. But unless I think ideally Sandhagen's gonna be the minute winner. He's gonna win that first round because more Vera's gonna do. He's gonna wait, be patient. And then I think somewhere within 2.5, starting the third round, that's when we're really gonna see Vera come forward, push some pace, try to give it to Sandhagen some. Like I said, I'm torn on this fight because originally, if I would have stayed on my main selection, I picked Hill, then we switched to Teixeira, and then now it's a bad decision, and Hill pieced him up like he stole something for 5.
So what you got, man? I'm gonna tell you this. I think Corey Sandhagen is the first person to finish Vera.
That's the one thing it does say because these two of my favorite guys in the division. They're both sleepers in this division. Vera is a slight, like I said, somebody said, "Oh, Vera is like a volume, like a low volume striker like Derek Lewis." No, no, no. He does have volume in his own when he gets started. Derek Lewis away for one punch. Vera does throw some combinations, and he's more well rounded. Like I said, if I gotta pick one. Like I said, this is gonna be like the Jamal Hill fight for me because I saw points on this one. Vera's 2-0 in 5 rounds. Like I said, but he's mainly losing before it comes up. Like I said, DFS, I've been on Vera whenever he's the dog, and he's actually below his salary usually because he was the slight favorite over Edgar. This is gonna, I already know whatever pick I'm gonna be on, it's gonna be like, oh shit, but I'm gonna be on Vera. Is it like I said, either side I was gonna pick? Did I have a confident factor? No, but I did have points of views for both sides. And if Vera's gonna win, one thing that wouldn't shock me. There times where late in the fight does Sandhagen get rocked a little bit? Yes. Does he get put out? Absolutely not. The only thing I'll say is there's a chance that I think within between rounds 4 to 5, which I do expect the fight to get there, it wouldn't shock me at some point if Vera. This is the reason why I'll go. If he rocks Sandhagen like he's been able to rock a lot of his opponents, but I don't see Sandhagen get finished by a knockout. Maybe he gets wobbled, and then maybe he gets a neck. That's the only what I think there's a chance Vera could win by a late submission. He finds the way to finish these fights late. And if I had a confidence factor 0 through 10, I'll maybe say a 3.5, 4. But like I said, Sandhagen will be the minute winner. But unless Vera comes out and he's like, yo, I'm proving a point. I'm the true number one guy. Screw O'Malley because he got lucky with the decision. I don't think this fight finishes. Not finishes. I don't see the fight sees the scorecard. I think someone's gonna prove a point. Look, we are the two unknown slept guys in the division. We deserve the recognition to get closer to the title. I think this potentially is fight of the night until someone gets finished. As you said, that wouldn't shock me if Sandhagen is the one to finish Vera. And if it is, I think it's gonna be very similar of him catching him like he caught Edgar, unfortunately. And don't be disrespected to Frankie Edgar. He's a legend. He's getting knocked out by everybody, but I don't want to hear it.
He is a legend. I'm not going to fight that, but he did get knocked the fuck out multiple times.
Especially against Chris Gutierrez, and that was hurtful to see. But
all right, well, you made your pick.
yep,
You
I'm
got
sticking with it.
Marlon Vera. I'm going with Corey Sandhagen. And that wraps up that portion of the card. You got a hot take for me?
Oh, I do, and I'm waiting for it as a bet to drop. So sometime tomorrow. Ogden, I give to him. He's never been knocked out. I have a feeling that Torres is going to win by first round submission.
I'm fine with that. I prefer the first round finish because I think it's
Either way, first round finishes. That's going to help us either way. But I think he's going to rock Ogden. Ogden is going to shoot sloppy, and he's going to get a first round sub. And you know what? If I get this on the dot and name it how he gets it, I better get some freaking prop points. Not only the sub prop. You ready? Guillotine. He's going to rock him, shoot a sloppy shot, and he's going to grab the neck. Guillotine. Round 1.
You can really say it right.
Guillotine.
Guillotine.
Gilla.
Man, there's a bunch that I really, really like on this card, but I'm gonna stick with what I just said. I think Sandhagen's the first person to finish Vera, and I think it's gonna be a knockout.
Either way, whoever finishes who in this fight is going to be impressive. Is going to get him closer to the fight, or how O'Malley's playing games to an extent, saying, "Oh, I should wait for this. I should wait for this." I think when an impressive win from either side, whoever wins, I think they get Marab.
Yeah,
Depends because think about it. Because Sterling, unless Sterling says
it depends on if Marab is going to go and fight Sterling or not.
He won't. He won't.
Because he said that he won't because they're best friends. But like Dana said, it would be stupid for him to do that. But yeah, if he doesn't, then yeah, it'd probably be it'll either be O'Malley or Walashvili. So, either way, I think Walashvili would probably beat everybody at this point, even Sterling.
At some point, Sterling's going up to 45.
I think Sandhagen would beat O'Malley.
I agree, and I hate to say that, but I agree. How about a rematch with O'Malley and Vera?
I would like to see it, but I think it's going to depend on how this fight goes.
Yep.
Even if
Yeah, I think Morocco beats
even if
everybody.
Vera loses this fight and they if Vera loses and they put him against O'Malley, I'll probably go O'Malley. If Vera wins and they go against O'Malley, then I'll go with Vera. And I say that because O'Malley and Sandhagen are very similarly built
Mm-hmm.
and they have kind of similar games. So yeah, I don't know. I think Sandhagen's just a little bit better than O'Malley.
I agree.
So, but I already went over my favorite dog. Like I said, it's Duraev. Absolutely love him
Oh,
this
I didn't
week.
go with my favorite dog.
Well, who do you want as your favorite
I'm
dog?
not gonna say Lingo because I said I think Lingo is like a wild card. My favorite dog. I'm kind of I'm kind of shocked you didn't say who your favorite dog. Wait, who's your favorite dog again?
Drive.
Okay, never mind. My favorite dog, and I'm going off just pure pressure alone. I think he gets a finish before the end of the fight. And I told you at the beginning of the week, I'm going Parsons. I know the 8,200, 8,000. I think if Parsons nonstop, I think he's going to get the pressure. And I think he's going to get a potential late sub win. And even if he doesn't get the sub win, I think with all kinds of pressure and takedowns, I think Giles can get up. So I hope he does get up. So Parsons get more takedowns, more control, takedowns, control, rack up between 5 to 7, and I'll be happy. But I'll tell you right now,
Yeah,
if he gets slick on his back, he may not need 5 takedowns. He may need under 3, and then he can get us up potentially.
he
If he
might need
gets
a stretcher, is what he might need.
nah, Giles ain't got no power.
We'll see. So that'll take care of that. Let's see, we got five different fighters, so five different picks between
Hmm?
the two. So hopefully we end up a little different this week. One of us for sure, unless there's a draw again, will either I'll be either up either another pick or you'll be tied with me again, at least. So that next week we're off.
Then we're off.
Next week is April 1st, the April 1st weekend, so we'll be off
We
that
come
weekend.
back during Adesanya and what's his name rematch.
Oh, Pereira.
Yeah, they're rematching it. And
Yeah,
last time
so
I saw Pereira was the dog.
last time I took Pereira and I was the only one on Pereira and I won that fight.
Hey man, he was also he pulled a
all, all, all the RotoWire
I
guys
know
had.
I saw it. You told me and you showed. I was like, holy shit.
Oh, I was the only one on Pereira.
But the only thing I can say is I remember you told me, you said, hey, if you see any money on Pereira late, jump on it. I threw 20 and I won some money off that. I'm like, ooh.
Mm-hmm. I think so with that rematch. I think Adesanya is just going to be doomed to lose again. I really do.
You know the crazy thing? I think Adesanya is going to start out hot and then he's going to get caught. I wouldn't even say got cocky. He got too relaxed late in that 5th round. And then that's when Pereira saw it and he just said, screw it. And then he just let it go.
I think Pereira does it earlier this time though. He knows that he can hurt him. He knows he's got the ability to do it. So that fight or that card though it looks really really good. Man, we got Pereira and Adesanya, Burns and Masvidal, and God, I cannot wait to watch Masvidal get his ass kicked again because I cannot
Thank
stand
you.
Rob Font and Yanez. Man, I like both those guys, but I'm definitely going Yanez in that fight.
I wish I
Um,
thought it was a fight night 5 card, 5 round.
who was it that got bad? Was it Curtis? Yeah, it was Chris Curtis. Chris Curtis got mad at this one because they took him off the main card, put Raul
Oh,
Rosas Jr.
yeah. He was
So, yep,
pissed.
the teenage phenom is back on the card against Christian Rodriguez. It's a very winnable matchup for him, but it'll also be a really big test for him. We got Ponzi back on this card against Holland,
Ooh.
Calvillo, and Loopy. Oh, the Karate Hottie's back. I didn't know
Going
she
in.
was back. I didn't know she was back fighting.
Who's she fighting?
Luana Pinheiro.
Ooh, that should be a good fight.
I like that. All right, so the Karate Hottie's back. That's awesome. Pinheiro probably wins that fight though,
Oh,
unfortunately.
yeah.
Bahamondes and Mata. Nerdenbeek is back against Steve Garcia, and Garcia's been really impressive lately. You got Chris Curtis against Gaston. Poor Gaston is just going to get knocked out again. Joe Pfeiffer's back. He's got Gerald Mearshart.
Jersey boy.
I think Mearshart's going to get
Knocked
knocked
out.
out. The Leech. We got the Leech against Michael Chiesa.
Ooh, that should be good.
All
I like
right. All right. So Sam Page is back on this card. We got Sam Hughes. I've taken her every fight, and she continues to win for me.
Who's she fight?
She did lose her last one, but I had her in those first 2 wins that she had this week. This time she's got Jack. I actually don't know who this is.
Who is it?
Jacqueline Amormim.
I think let me see. She might be from the Contender Series.
She's from the LFA.
Oh, then yeah, I don't know who the hell that is. Hey, but keep sleeping on Sam Hughes though.
Interesting. We'll have to watch her fights because
I just hope to God they don't overprice my man Joe Pfeiffer. I want to get
But then, so the do you know the first fight on that card? The very first one?
Was it Hughes?
No, we got Chris Barnett against Chase Sherman.
Wait, that's the first fight?
Dude, they started the card
on,
off with two of the
wait,
like most entertaining fighters in the UFC.
Bro, I'm checking on ESPN. They had that as the first fight on the prelim card. The early prelim it opens up with Amora versus Hughes.
Oh, really? On Tapology they got Barnett, so I wonder if it'll change.
Ooh, Bonamonez versus Mata.
Confirmed. So yeah. Anyway, so yeah, lots to look forward to. We'll be back in 2 weeks to go over that card, and as always, we appreciate you guys watching. We'll catch you next time.